There is a specific kind of moment coming your way today, Capricorn. Someone is going to look at you and see success, confidence, that polished, put-together version of you that walks into rooms and belongs there, and they are going to believe it completely. But behind that image, something quieter is happening, a private worry, a family thing, a tug at home that no one in your professional world can see. And the pull between those two versions of you is going to define this Tuesday more than any headline transit. Because there is a decision waiting in the wings today. Something you may be tempted to make public before it is fully settled in private. And the sky is quietly asking you to reverse that order. The bigger picture. From the Western tropical lens, today's chart puts Venus in your 10th house of career, reputation, and public identity. That is already home turf for you. But she is doing two things at once, and the tension between them is the whole story. Early in the day, Venus forms a beautiful trine to Pluto in your second house of self-worth and resources. This is the kind of aspect that quietly opens doors. Your reputation, your strategic relationships, your polished way of moving through professional spaces. All of it gets a subtle amplification. A message you send lands with the right person. A conversation carries more weight than usual. Then later, Venus swings into opposition with Neptune in your 4th house of home, family, and emotional foundations. And that is where the day gets complicated. Private feelings blur public focus. Something at home, whether a family need, an unspoken worry, or an old insecurity, starts pulling at the edges of your attention. Underneath all of this, Chiron continues its slow work in a very specific area of your chart, the one connected to babies, children, teenagers, and the younger generation. Right now, it is mostly setting a stage. But by April and May of 2027, something is being prepared. A larger experiment involving your role as a parent, a mentor, a godparent, or someone connected to young people in a meaningful way. Today's small choices are quietly laying that foundation. The Vedic sidereal tradition would frame these house placements differently and would emphasize longer karmic timing rather than the daily heat of the aspects. But both perspectives agree on the essential recognition. You are being asked today to hold two truths at once, the public one and the private one, and to protect the private one first. That is the real work of this Tuesday. Love. Here is where the day gets personal. If you are in a relationship, there is a real possibility that today brings a milestone conversation to the surface. A talk about commitment, about visibility, about introducing someone, about what the two of you actually are. The trine early in the day supports that conversation beautifully. Serious words spoken with tact and substance can genuinely move things forward. But then something else surfaces later. Family expectations. A private insecurity. A worry about how this looks to people whose opinions you still care about, even if you would never admit it out loud. You may have noticed this pattern in yourself before. The temptation to announce something, post it, introduce someone, or make it public before you and your partner have actually agreed on what it means. Today's chart is asking you gently to slow that impulse. Have the private conversation first. The domestic reality gets the final vote here, not the audience. For singles, the day is more subtle. If there is an X hovering in your thoughts, the sky's advice is quiet but firm. Not today. The energy that feels like reconnection is more likely to be Neptune's soft fog than a genuine opening. What looks like unfinished business may actually be a chapter your nervous system is still learning to close. And here is the reframe hidden inside all of this. What may look today like hesitation about a relationship is actually your intuition doing its job. It is not asking you to say no. It is asking you to say yes in the right order. Privately first. Publicly later. Career. That same tension follows you into work. And this is where it gets interesting. Your professional grace is genuinely opening doors right now. A polished message. A well-timed conversation. A moment of tact that lands with someone influential. Reputation is building on real substance today, not on performance. But there is a specific warning inside this shine. If you are working on something creative, visionary, or still forming in your mind, today is not the day to hand it to the room for feedback. The 10th house Venus opposite Neptune dynamic is famous for one particular experience. You present a still-forming idea. Someone offers criticism that does not quite understand what you are building, and you start second-guessing yourself before you have even finished the first draft. Do not. This is where the trine to Pluto in your second house becomes your anchor. Deep down, you know the value of what you are building. You feel it in your bones. That is the aspect talking. That is the part of you that knows. Find support instead among fellow creatives who've navigated this particular trench before. Not the general committee. Not the loudest voice in the meeting. The specific people who understand the shape of what you are making. And if work feels draining today, that is not weakness. That is the chart doing exactly what it does when Venus and Neptune face each other across your 10th and 4th houses. The professional world pulls one way. The domestic world pulls the other. And you are the one holding both. Money, which brings us naturally to resources, because that same self-worth trine is doing serious work in your money house today. Jupiter's broader influence favors smart financial decisions right now. But smart does not mean impulsive. Trust your instincts, then seek advice before committing significant capital. Especially anything involving a big shared vision, a family investment, or something wrapped in inspiring language but light on specifics. The Neptune fog can make a beautiful pitch feel like destiny today. Do not confuse poetry with a plan. If the numbers are not written down, the deal is not real yet. There is a lovely thread here between money and self-worth. The trine is quietly reminding you that what you are building has value, and that value does not need to be discounted just because someone in the room raised an eyebrow. Hold your price. Hold your standard. The people who recognize what you are worth are the ones worth working with anyway. Health. And this is where today's most important insight lies. You have been carrying more than you have admitted. Not just in work. Not just at home. In the quiet negotiation between the two, where you have been pretending you can be fully available in both places at once. You cannot. Not today. That is the real shift. The chart is not asking you to fix your family, rescue your reputation, or perform wellness. It is asking you to protect your base. To notice where you are leaking energy trying to hold up two versions of yourself in two different rooms. Practice gratitude in small, real ways today. Not the Instagram kind. The specific kind. The list you make quietly for yourself of what is already working, what is already yours, what is already enough. That practice alone can shift the emotional weight of the day more than any strategy. Swap sugary drinks for something cleaner. Smoothies, fresh juices, water with something green in it. Your body is asking for a lighter fuel today because your nervous system is already processing a lot. Blue is a supportive color for you today. Gentle, calming, and universally safe to wear. Some Vedic practitioners might connect certain colors or mantras to specific planetary energies, but those recommendations require personal chart analysis to be applied precisely. Wearing blue is the accessible, safe version. It carries the calm without the complication. Home and family. Underneath everything today, the Chiron work in your parental and generational house keeps humming. You may find yourself thinking about a younger person in your life differently today. A child, a niece or nephew, a godchild, a mentee, a young person in a community you care about, or, for some of you, the possibility of stepping into a parental role that is not biological, a step-parent situation, dating someone with children, a charity connected to young adults, a project that supports the next generation. Today's small gesture is not the whole story. It is the setup. What you plant now with a young person in your orbit becomes the ground for a much larger experiment in the spring of 2027, when the sun joins Chiron and the theme becomes impossible to ignore. Friendships also get a soft, warm boost today. The moon in Gemini brings out easy conversation, quick understanding, and the kind of company that feels light without being shallow. If a close friend reaches out, meet them. Say yes to the coffee, the walk, the shared meal. These are the bonds that get you through the harder days, and today's a good day to feed them. Travel in spirit. Travel is worth handling carefully today. If you must move, road trips are gentler than flights right now. Something about the fog around long-distance details, changing schedules, and unclear itineraries makes local travel simpler and less draining. If you are already booked to fly, double-check the times. Reread the confirmation. Confirm the pickup on the other end. Spiritually, today rewards a very Capricorn kind of practice. Not grand ritual. Not dramatic transformation. Just quiet, honest gratitude. A short list at the end of the day of what is already yours. What you have already built. What is already working in your life that you rarely stop to notice? That practice is not sentimental, it is structural. It rebuilds the foundation Neptune is trying to soften today. Lucky signs. Blue is your supportive color today, calming and clear. Your strongest window runs from around noon to 2 in the afternoon, ideally holding the most important conversations inside that band. The energies most aligned with yours today lean toward other earth signs who can meet your practicality with steadiness, and toward the air sign Gemini through the moon's warmth around friendship. A quiet evening at home with someone you trust is more powerful than a crowded scene. Keep your circle small. Keep your conversations honest. Today's guidance. So here is where we land. Today is not a day for announcing. It is a day for confirming, not for presenting, for protecting. Not for performing the polished version of your life, for quietly making sure the private version is actually okay. The magnetism you carry today is real. The doors opening in your career are real. The conversations that matter are ready to happen. But all of it works best when you handle the home front first. The private conversation before the public one. The family need before the professional flex. The inner audit before the outer announcement. That earlier feeling that someone was going to see the polished version of you while something quieter was happening underneath, that is the whole reading in one line. Your work today is simply to make sure the underneath is honored, because the polish only holds if the foundation is real. Rest into the day. Trust the substance you have built. Handle the small conversation at home before the big one at work. And let the yes, when it comes, arrive in the right order. That is the day. That is the invitation the sky is offering you this Tuesday.